Hi, this is Bill Berry, and we are back with session 4. And what we have seen in the previous sessions are some individual skills and some history of grievances. What we're going to start today is the real nitty-gritty of what you have to do to file grievances. This is how we control our workplace, and these are going to be situations that are familiar to all of you, no matter how much experience you have as a union steward. One of the things that's great about doing this class is that everyone who's watching it has experience with a steward or as a steward. You've filed a grievance, you've had a grievance, you've watched it. So we're looking at common terms. But what we're looking at here is the importance of the contract, because that's power in the workplace. And we're going to use that contract and the grievance procedure to increase that power, to build the support of our members, and to challenge our employers on every area of the workplace. We're going to look through grievances which are normal to us, that are filed through the steps of the contract, but we're also going to look at the importance of organizing around grievances, not only because it builds leverage to win those grievances, but because it energizes our members and creates a stronger and more aggressive ATU local. We're also going to look at some of the laws that affect grievance procedures, and particularly the one that's most controversial, particularly in the private sector, the duty of fair representation. So let's get started. Let's look at our union contract and see what's in it, and then we can talk about it. Your union contract is an agreement over how the workplace is going to be run. And for all of the new hires who are coming in, this is something you need to stress. Because in a non-union workplace, there is no such thing. What you have there is total control by the boss. You do what he tells you, when he tells you, if he tells you, you come, you go, you get paid what he tells you. And so the union is a huge difference, and the contract represents that difference. It's a sense of rights, not privileges. That is, you have a right by being a member of the union, by being covered by the contract, to these terms and conditions of employment that you have negotiated. You don't have to beg for a boss, you don't have to wash his car, you don't have to pay him money. This is so important. It brings this sense of equality, that is, I am as good as they are. We have always known that we're smarter than our bosses. But in a non-union workplace, you have to keep that to yourself. What wins in a non-union workplace is that kind of sense of subservience, of letting the boss think that anything he does is right and okay. We're also going to talk, and I apologize to anybody out there who's not a football fan, the line of scrimmage. And the line of scrimmage is where games are won and lost. But the line of scrimmage is every day in the workplace, who's going to control the changes that happen. And we see them all the time. Situations that occur where we think one thing should be done and the boss thinks another thing should be done. And the difference is that we have a union and a union contract that gives us the power to influence how that line of scrimmage is won. I want you to then read the document and know your union contract. And as in the previous lessons, there are documents here which are very, very important and are very helpful to you. And you can download them, you can print them, you can save them, however you want to do it, but you need to do them. Kaizen of improving your skills as a union steward. So what's in a union contract? There are two parts of it, really. One are the economic clauses, and these are certainly the ones that are best known to your membership and have a direct cost to your boss. These are issues like wages, benefits, overtime, a clothing allowance, free passes, educational benefits, meal allowance. All of these are areas that seem to have a direct cost and are clearly understood by your members. And they can be directly and specifically measured. although sometimes the calculations are occasionally complicated. You may hit concerns over when a member is entitled to what level of overtime, or when someone is entitled to holiday pay, things like that. And so these are areas in which are economic clauses, but they are concerned with the language of the contract. Non-economic clauses, or the contract language, are just as important. And these are clauses that take total control away from your boss, and they are just as important. Although I would guess that most of your members have never read all these clauses until they have a problem. And then they suddenly realize that there is something in the contract that may cover what their situation is. So what you need to do is to read the document, the most important articles in your contract, and so you begin to know what we're talking about. And as I said, many of you who are watching this course or listening to this course are experienced stewards and officers, so you've been through the contract. But many of you are rookies. You're just starting out as a steward. And so these areas of the contract are important for you to read carefully. And finally, one of the most important union principles that we talk about is seniority. And seniority really represents what a union can do, because it's an area in which you take total power away from your boss. In a non-union shop, you can get promoted, you can get a raise, you can get assigned to a shift or a route based on the discretion of your boss. The union contract changes that dramatically. Some of your union members who are young may not always appreciate this, because they're ambitious, they want to move into higher job classifications, for example, and they feel that seniority holds them back. And what you need to do is to make them understand that this is a union principle. It's huge, and it allows the union to measure who qualifies for a particular position based on the data higher. And it takes that power away from the boss. So it's very, very important that everyone understand how seniority works and what it does. It's a perfect example of contract language, and it's spread throughout the contract and is very important. It can be controversial, and your younger members need to understand the value of it. All right, so take a break, read those documents, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.